Thank you.
Thank you. Siri.
Who was that?
Siri, I think.
Minutes, May 3rd, regular meeting.
These are just you guys.
Just those guys. Dog complaints. Station. Warrant article, Simon, Academy Hall painting.
Looks pretty accurate. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Executive session minutes, May 3rd, 2021.
There is it. There is it. Probably should.
Should we adjust the letterhead on that one?
Pardon me?
Oh,
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
Good
on
point.
on minutes?
Yeah, good point. Also, the attendance, because on the back, we do know that Phil is there. Attendees should be added Phil and the two rulers.
Okay.
Obviously, Eddie, Phil was there as well.
Approve with those amendments.
No, also the bottom part, Don, I think I want to be clear that indicated in a conversation with Ed, not that he was here, because it could be interpreted, why was he there?
Right.
You know, something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
okay.
yeah. Or Ed reported that, or something like that, you know.
Okay, attorney before reported that.
Yep.
Okay.
With those changes, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the next was the minutes of the regular minutes of June 14th, 2021. Okay.
Okay, motion to approve.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the July 6th, 2021 regular meeting. We have we should have Dave Turcott and Carrie Joseph really here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Attendees.
Attendees.
Do you want me to
Yes,
put
then have to
all
list all the
guests?
police
at
guys
the-
and stuff.
Yeah, and then we
top.
gotta list all the police guys,
Yeah.
right? No, as long as it's show that, I think that
It's clear in
indicates
the,
they're
clear
there.
in the diff that they came before.
Right. Because we have all the police officers there too.
Chomley and Seager again
Came
presented.
before, yes, it came before the board, okay. Yeah, that's good.
All right, motion to approve.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh. Let me just go back to Don, I just was flipping by. On the executive,
Yep.
he is not counsel for what, he is not counsel for Wolverhampton. He's counsel for the district. Steve Riley's the counsel for Wolverhampton. Sean at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay.
Well, people think of Wolverine as a party group, they're not.
Change this, so. This is okay, this is okay. Okay. The next item on the agenda is fire station expansion fiber optic committee. I thought we took care of the fiber optic.
We did. And we don't.
And you were gonna,
You were gonna point.
Yes,
Did we vote
that's
them
what I
all?
understood too.
I thought we voted it all when they all came before us.
We did, I printed
Yeah.
sheets for you to sign, and I put on behalf of Bob, or Bob is going to be the
Okay,
liaison.
right. And we're not ready for the fire station committee yet, so.
We have some, but not, well, one could argue enough, but we need a bit more diverse committee, I would say.
well, can we have a discussion about that?
I haven't seen
Have a
any
discussion.
information on these people that are, I know they contacted you, but that's been short on, first off, I think we need a charge, what's their mission and what, I don't want to say what type, what the background of the people on the committee is important.
Well, I would raise the question, I want to raise the question, do we need a fire station study committee?
I think we're only
We gotta-
looking at
we gotta-
this because
We got a $40,000 report, pretty much detailed about the deficiencies and what needs to be done. We got a report of the Hampden the fire chief study, which gives a pretty good history. I don't know, I think what we need is, to have, I don't think we need a committee. I think we need the board of selectmen to decide what's the future of the fire department and how we're gonna go about figuring out what that future is. Is it just to do fire? Is it to do fire in EMS services? And, you know, if that's the case, then we're gonna go 24 hours. If we go 24 hours, we're talking, you know, big expenditures. The deficiencies in the building, can we repair those enough to do what we got? I mean, and if you look at the history of the fires in town, just fires, and, you know, we had in 2010 or 2001, I think it was, we had 28 fires.
Mhm.
In 2020, we had 40 fires.
Mhm.
18 of them were house fires. In 2010, 18 of them were house fires. So, you know, I think so what we really have now, my view is our biggest concern is the solar fields. And if we do the storage, if they do storage up there, the storage units, then we're talking about who knows what
more
hazardous.
hazardous.
And people store stuff. You know, so I don't know if we need to do that, or we just need to sit with the chief or the fire chief and find out, you know, what do you think the mission of the fire department is in the next 5 or 10 years, and then decide from there what kind of equipment's needed. And do we need to build a new building, fix a building, and correct the deficiency? I mean, we've already taken care of the ventilation problem. We've taken care of a good part of the electrical problem, and we're gonna take care of the water problem
Well, we've done, so as you said, we've done some of the upgrading that's needed.
already. You know?
You're right in saying, what's first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
You have to determine the mission before you determine how big a house you need for the mission.
Yeah.
You know, how many people are in this bedroom, you know?
And so the
So-
only 3 names I've seen are all in the fire department. So. that's it.
This came up because the capital planning committee said
Well, the punch
they
is
thought it
pilot.
was too much detail involved and not enough time for them to make the recommendation on the fire department. We did go down that path for a while. And one of the rules that we were following was trying to determine how many vehicles the fire department should have. And then configure the building accordingly as to the number of vehicles that need to be placed indoors.
I think it goes back
It's
to
a
Don's
good
point
point.
about the mission.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, and certainly the mission is primary, because if you're going to have a 24-hour department, then you have to have sleeping quarters. If you're not going to have that, you don't have to have a building with sleeping quarters.
Right, but I see Thad is on with his hand raised, but I think the capital committee was more that they didn't feel their mission was to be involved in how many 2x4s and how many bolts
That was
the
my
town needed to
understanding.
buy. And that, I don't, more like, how do you factor all the different financial obligations into the long-range plan of the town? And that, if I'm paraphrasing, just correct me, or you were there at the same meeting.
Yeah, that's it pretty much, John. One of the big things that in the meeting, and Bob touched on it, I tried focusing on what was the needs of the current situation. Okay, if you look at the number of vehicles that they have over in that building and the history of what happens with vehicles in the town, it was my feeling that they had more vehicles than they needed.
Mhm.
Now, to Don, to your point about getting the fire department involved, I had several conversations with the chief over there. We took a tour of the place and he basically said, whatever the selectmen want us to do is what we'll do. So they did, the prior chief, I never talked to the chief, prior to the current one. But I felt that the study was designed to make the fire department of the future. There's a lot of stuff in there that would go along with that 24/7 operation that I don't think is needed. But when I said, well, let's not replace that vehicle, let's just have the right number of vehicles, everybody was like, oh, we can't get rid of a fire engine, we can't get rid of this, we can't get rid of that. I say, why not? If we're not using the equipment, why do we have it? Okay. And why are we buying equipment in the past bigger than the building was capable of? There's smaller fire engines out there. We didn't want to buy the smaller fire engines. We bought what was fit into grant money bid at the time. So we bought a fire engine that was bigger than the building. Okay. We got an ambulance over there taking prime real estate inside the building, an ambulance that there's no intention of using. Why do we have that inside the building? When we say we took care of the ventilation system, if we got the fans going, that was only a small portion of that whole big study. So I go back to agreeing with Bob and John there, saying we don't really have what the fire department mission is. We used to, when I was in industry, we would zero base operations. When we took over a new facility, we would zero base it. And we basically went to the guy and says, okay, you're going to start with an empty building. How many trucks do you need? My conversations with the people in the fire department, I could never get that answer. It was always, well, we have this many. And I kept saying, how many do we need? And I don't know, somewhere there's enough data to say how much we need based on how many fires we put out. I mean, how many times are those vehicles go out on runs? How many times do they go out? Do we need the number that we have? There's also the question that we raised that never got answered was, if we have less, does that impact the insurance rating of the town? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it was a part that wasn't addressed. I personally feel that we have a functioning fire department as is, that we don't need to increase the size of it, but I still think we have way too many vehicles.
Well, one thing you can
And-
say that is quickly, when we touched on this, we've been without that second tanker now for 2 or 3 years. And to go back to Don's
Yeah.
point, how has it affected the operation of the department being with one tanker? They had a pretty strong argument that we needed to replace it, but have we actually felt, so to speak, a degradation in service because we haven't had it? We've been very fortunate with mutual aid, and we're grateful to the surrounding communities to help us. But going forward, and that goes back into the need for a bigger building, because if we got a new tanker, we need a new building. Okay, do we need a new tanker before we need a new building? Or just need to repair the building we have for the needs?
So
And back to Don's point, who do we need to make this call? Should the board sit down and do it? Should the board sit down and get a couple people with us at the same time and do basically focused meetings on just this
Yeah.
question rather than 5 minutes every
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we need to have a.
but
Go ahead, Dad.
And then once you know the focus of or the intent of the department, if it doesn't change from today's status, what in that report has to be addressed? Because there are some space issues in there that do need to be addressed. I think those could be addressed with temporary, like Butler buildings, you know, to store some of the stuff off
Yeah.
outside the press, because there's plenty of land there. I think to do some things, but to do the whole report, yeah, there's not enough land there. And the cheapest way to do it would be to go to a new site. But again, that's very, very expensive. And I don't think that's needed.
All right, thanks, Stan.
I mean, I have no problem participating in the study group, but if that's the way you go, I haven't been out of town and I haven't replied to a lot of stuff.
Right, thanks. So maybe we need to have just a meeting, focused meeting, and invite everybody in and
Yeah,
ask 1,000
we need to know the
questions.
direction, the
Bring
game plan of the
stakeholders
future.
in,
Yeah,
yeah.
But, you know, my theory is, you know, every vehicle serves a purpose.
Mhm, that's okay.
We're not going to,
This is actually a good time of year to do that, Don. Maybe one of our, so to speak, missing Mondays
Yeah.
will be strictly,
On that,
you know, in August.
okay. All right, very good. And so the fiber optic committee is all set, right? I mean,
Right,
we're all
yeah.
set.
Yeah.
And you
we have to sign stuff, you said?
Yes, there are, I don't know which folder they're in.
I have
The
a,
signature file.
I have
maybe?
a
Those are all
signature like
police.
for all the police. We
Those are
gotta appoint all the
police.
police people, right?
I think yes, I think in bill folder,
No.
They're not?
No.
then maybe they're in yours, Don,
This one here.
whatever the number
There's
is.
something here.
Quickly, Pam, there's two bills for graduate, like a week apart.
Uh-huh.
Did they have to come back in for a second treatment or something?
Well, I know that they did inside and outside.
Is that why?
and
Okay.
I thought that
There
was
we are.
in one day.
Okay, so in one day and then around. I did see them, we were coming, was it Craig? You and I were coming here, we saw them bringing a hose around the outside perhaps.
Or what was it?
The graduate was doing the outside treatment for, I think it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'll ask Jane. I
That makes sense. Yeah.
These were the volunteers incidentally for the fire station committee, just in case you wanted to see. And I assume we're not going to go forward right now. No,
I would say no.
okay. So the highway garage expansion bids. Where are we there? What's the news on that?
Well, there was an email that went out today, apparently. I know I was here for the bid openings. And I said, you know, we need to run this by Larry. And I guess you did.
did.
And then-
We had a meeting today.
And for some reason,
Yes.
right, there was correspondence back and forth, which I guess the board was not privy to. But we did get an answer because there was a question about the washing today. So you did finally share the answer from the consultant today.
There was a meeting today with Andrew Smith, who's in the office downtown, the Springfield office. And it was about that task number 2. He said you have to change that. And so the consultant we listened to what he had to say. Which one are you talking about? We're on highway bids,
Yeah, that's the
the
one.
highway garage. Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of another grant, there's so many grants, yeah,
Highway garage.
All right, garage.
yeah, the highway. garage.
So we have a bid.
And the response from Larry Tuttle did come in at the end of the day on Thursday. And I didn't forward it, but I saw it this morning and got it off to you, so you have the information for tonight. But then I put together that summary of what the base bids were and then what the alternates were.
So the low bid was,
Maroy. The same firm that built the police station. So I think, and we have a member of that committee here, and I think, Phil, you can say that they did a fine job. We're trying the police station committee?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and they did a fine, very responsive. And
They sure do.
They're substantially lower than the other two.
true.
I was surprised.
Well, we did
They're
a
only
pretty good,
$11,000 higher than they were when we went out to bid last time.
well, we did a pretty good job. Yeah, we pulled alternates out. That's, I think if you add what
Yeah,
we
we
did last time, it'd be substantially higher. So the question before us is, what alternates do we want to put back on? And what is the final number we have right now? And I think if you left. We're at, with the two appropriations, Bob, we're at maybe 560 left in the till or no?
About right.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. It'd be $24,000 less than 600. So it's about 574.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see an additional bill from Larry, though, coming forward for all his work, so I think you'll figure a little off of that, yeah. Either way, but the number did include a 10% contingency as well. So do we have a recommendation from Larry as to which alternates we should include in the bid? And
Yeah. It's in there.
So the low bid was $474,000.
Right.
mhm,
And there was, in the low bidders total for all the alternates is $141,732, which would bring that to $615.
Yep.
Which is a little bit more than we have.
All right.
So,
now, alternate 6 was really, that was not a pie in the
Separate
sky, but that was really looking at the current superintendent's office and saying, okay, could we expand that by using the bay to the right, which would be not as necessary.
anyone's air conditioning here too? And the floor?
And a floor,
The floor.
and electrical.
Flooring and electrical.
Right now, he's just running a long
Wants
extension
it
cord from the
painted.
town hall.
Some of these people.
So that one is obviously one that can come out, because that's work that can actually be done inside budget probably in years to come. So you bring
That's
that up,
38, that'd be
38
38,000.
right there. So if you took, now you're down into the 570 range, something like that.
Everything, 38, let's see,
Yeah.
615 minus 40 is
Mhm.
575 minus 2 is 573.
Now you're down to the leftover money at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
If you took something, to be honest, if you looked at alternate 3, which was 8,000 for concrete apron, I don't see why that can't be expensed, honestly, to highway expense. This is like if they fix their parking
Parking
lot,
lot,
something
yeah.
like that, and just, there is money in that account for that type of thing. So,
So the trench drain connection to oil and water, so what happened was, okay, trench drain connection to water, oil and water separator to tight
Mhm.
tank. So
Mhm.
when they wash the trucks,
it goes into it and gets pumped, it doesn't go into the
it doesn't go into
septic.
septic,
Right, yeah,
it goes into a separate tank
exactly,
and someone has to come and oil that, empty the tank.
right.
Where would they wash them now? Outside?
Right now, they wash them outside and it goes into the drain. So this is obviously an improvement.
All right. And then position, so they want to position the oil, water separator and tight tank to the north, 25 feet away from the building. Okay.
1 and 2 go together?
Basically.
They must have
Yes
one
and
more
no,
you
I
have to
mean,
do
you
too.
could put the tight tank, but it'd be incredibly awkward to use it if you didn't move it away from the building.
building.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 1 and 2 go together.
Yeah.
Replace the concrete slab apron or truck bays.
That's what I'm saying. Why can't we do inside
just do it
budget?
ourselves, right? Seal existing slab at truck bays.
We could job that out under, again, expense money. It is, if you take the 8,000 out, you have enough and you have a contingency money as well.
Right.
So,
Okay. And then we have the concrete slab at northernmost bay, we need that.
yeah, right.
And we
And
do
then-
away with the superintendent's office
Work it into budget in future. years.
eventually.
Right. So with that, I think we're fortunate. We have a bidder who we've had experience with. They did a good job on the police station. The committee is very impressed with their work. The town is. They came in well. They obviously have good references, one of which is our town. I would certainly make a motion to award the bid to Maroy Construction with alternates 1, 2, 4, and 5. And Bob can come up with the award amount at that point, but it sounds like it's gonna be in the 550 range, something like that.
You doing the math right now?
And John, what
I'm
is
doing
the
it in my
total
head.
that's been appropriated?
Well, we appropriated 300 twice. We've spent, as Bob said, 25,000 in fees to the architect.
32,
So we probably have
64,
570, 575 left.
91,
Thank you.
474 plus 91, 5. We're still over. 32, 66, 66, 72, 90.
Yeah, but if we're taking it back down from the 615, we took 38 off, so that brought it down to 577, then we took 8 more off. So we should have been like
It's 615.
560
Meant
something.
95, 264 for additions. For alternates.
Right, 95.
Okay, yeah, so that
264.
brings up to 569, yeah, okay. Right,
474 and 95.
569, 264,
569, how much we got?
575.
yeah. What I would do is maybe
Okay.
even take 4, maybe take alternate 4 off and leave that as a, look, if the contingency money doesn't get used, seal the bank. If not, it's $6,000.
Yeah,
We'll try
well,
and find.
just to get us
in
inside
budget,
the thing.
exactly.
Okay. So you're gonna amend that to say 1, 2, and 5.
1, 2, and 5, correct.
Take off 4.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we can work 4, 3, and 4 into the budget somewhere.
Somewhere.
Right.
1, 2, 4, and 5.
1, 2,
1, 2, and 5.
1, 2, and 5.
That's 1, 2, and 5 now.
Because based on your recollection of the amount left, we're pretty sure that's
Yeah.
inside the appropriated money.
Do you need to remake your motion?
No, I think we heard it here. So I move to award the bid to Maroy with alternates 1, 2, and 5.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let the construction begin. Vote and sign the police impact bargaining agreement.
We didn't?
Okay, well, we didn't vote, we didn't get a contract from them, and we didn't vote it out in public, which we have to do. And this is not the dispatch, one.
This is just the, yeah.
the other thing.
Pam did
I have it here.
work up a proposal there, a proposed contract, and checked it out with the chief so that it's accurate. What you have is accurate.
And the union president has signed it.
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion to vote the police impact bargaining agreement as agreed upon between the police union and board of selectmen.
Should we announce what that agreement is for public record?
Basically, it's to cover their services that are being rendered by the officers because of the change in status of dispatch under an agreement between the board and the union. And these will be summarized in the upcoming contract, and they've agreed to that as well. Correct, John?
Mhm. Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I feel bad we're stopping at 10 on the draft for the MOU.
Okay.
So many
I'll
numbers
sign
left.
that too. We're on the second page there. We got a lot of stuff here. Impact bargaining agreement. Shared health services memorandum of understanding. How are we doing there?
Well, I recommend that we pass over this tonight. I did have a call from town council today requesting a vote of the selectmen to permit town council to review the latest version. And the reason for that is that
Yes.
they also represent the town of Wilbraham.
No, they
And
don't.
before,
No, they don't. They represent Long Meadow.
I'm sorry, Long Meadow.
Okay.
And before they can ethically proceed, they need the selectmen, each community to know and to vote to approve it.
All right. Make a motion to recommend, I'm sorry, to authorize the town administrator to reach out to town council to review the MOU draft number 205.
This
10.
draft would be number 10.
Yeah, you say.
And they've had it for quite a while, but I was not here last week, so I assume that's why I didn't get a call.
Second.
This is so that, okay, all
We're
in
aware,
favor?
we're aware that there's,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Was easy. Okay, Hampden County Sheriff's Community Service. The Hampden County Sheriff's Department has sent us a letter saying that each year they do community service for various communities in Hampden County. And they're wondering if there's any projects that we'd be interested in them tackling.
Typically, and I'll go back and Phil might recall, we've always had them back in the raw days. And Pam may recall, they'd come out to the park, they'd clean the park, stuff like that. That was generally the only department that would utilize this type of offer. They would come out, they'd prep the park for the year. We usually got them in the spring, maybe the fall for a cleanup type thing before the fall, but there was really no other department in town that took advantage of it. And I can't really think, I mean, it's a general offer,
Yeah,
but again, we always used to get them in March, April, good tune up, rake out, clean the park. They liked coming out. They were great to work with, never an issue. But this point of the year, with the camp in full swing, maybe contact them and see if they're available in the fall for a closeout type thing.
that was here, right?
Yeah, Rob is here, he's the guy that emailed us
Oh,
with
okay.
all the info. I
Right.
don't know if he wants to say a little bit about what he wants, what they want to offer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Right.
Yeah, hi, I'm Robert Rizzuto. I'm here wearing two hats as a greeting. First is your new neighbor, just 5 doors down, 575.
Oh, really? Congratulations.
Yeah, I spoke with a couple of you, went back and forth.
Hey.
So thank you for taking good care of me at the beginning. I really appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
And on behalf of the Sheriff Nicochi and the whole department, basically, we're reaching out. We have our Western Mass Correctional Officer Academy coming to conclusion. We usually hold 1 or 2 a year. This one's a little bit later because of COVID and everything. The whole past year has been insane. So they're coming to conclusion right at the beginning of August, first week in August. So what we're looking to do is every class does their own community service project. This year, Sheriff Coach wanted to reach out to the 23 cities and towns to see if there was a multitude of projects. Anybody needed anything? We'd split the group up. We also get staff members, bring everybody in.
Mhm.
Wherever the need exists, kind of bridge that gap and help out. In the past, the academy's done things from, we cleaned up a playground in West Springfield. They also did like remulching of playground and fixing some of the fixtures there at an elementary school. I mean, you name it, they've done a variety of projects. Lots of it is park-based, things like that. But we can do anything for any municipality or nonprofit organization. Whatever it is, if it's painting, if it's beautifying, picking up trash. We helped the city of Springfield a year and a half ago. We did a big citywide cleanup in about 5 different neighborhoods. We took about 150 people in there and just split them up and tackled a whole bunch of problem areas. So just a general offer, we can do a bunch of things. For this specific project, we're aiming to do something on August 4th, which is the Wednesday before they graduate on the 6th. But you know, to your point, if there's nothing this time of year, let me know. I'm in the neighborhood. There's something coming up at another time. We could work something out, I'm sure.
It covers the cost of certain things. So say you said you repaired or painted or mulched.
Mhm.
Are you able to secure funding for that, or is that something the town's responsible for?
No, town's not responsible for anything. This is all within our department.
Okay.
So under state law, state employees can be paid for a day of community service. It's pretty generally the way it's written into the law, but we utilize this and take care of our communities, you know, in which we live and work.
Mhm.
So there's no cost to the municipality, there's basically no cost for materials. Like if you said, we want you to come and clean Memorial Park, or we'd like you to rake at one of the elementary schools.
Mhm.
I might just say, okay, how many people? And you say, oh, probably a job for 30 or 40. Okay, and I'd say, do you have trash bags? Do you have rakes? What do you have? And we would just go back and forth and I'd see what you didn't have, and we would just bridge it with our own supplies. There'd be no cost. We make it work. It all comes from the general budget of the department because it's part of what we do.
Great.
So I do think we have a need to use this if they want to help out. You know, I'm a hiker. I go out all the time. And one of our great trails, Goat Rock, it's always littered in trash. There's broken chairs lying around. There's lots of graffiti up there. The little plaque that's up there that tells you you're at Goat Rock has been kicked over and vandalized, ripped apart. I think that might be a good opportunity for them to go up there and just clean that up a little bit, maybe reduce some of the graffiti, clean up the surrounding trails that go up the side over there.
Right, that goes back to what I said before, after camp time.
No,
Yeah.
Goat Rock Country Club Drive at the end over there.
I
That has nothing to
understand,
do
but
with
the
camp.
entrance comes down into the, if you're doing the entire trail, you're coming down into the
They
park.
could do just that one side, which has the short trail to the overlook on the, what is that, the west side of town, instead of on the east side of town, which is the overlook on this side. It's like 2 miles in between.
Mhm.
So that's just one section over there, which I go up there quite frequently. It could use some cleanup.
Mhm.
So I mean, if they're offering, I think why not utilize that to clean up that section of the trail? They could stay away from the campsite, which has, you know, it's a mile down into the woods on the other side, so they don't even need to go into the camp.
Yeah.
And this is all our staff. It's not, sometimes with our community restitution crews, mix inmates that are on minimum security status with staff. They're always managed.
That's how we got Bob.
Running through. This is an all staff effort, just so you know.
It's all staff.
You know, years ago, Mike Ash volunteered a project for the city of Springfield. If you drive around the city, you'll notice some older brick school buildings that are 50, 75 years old. The brick looks relatively new. The sheriff's department did chemically clean about a dozen schools over a period of maybe 10 years when they first started doing these projects. And they still look good. Well, you know, those older brick buildings in the era of coal burning got blackened. Yeah, the bricks got blackened. They cleaned them up.
I'm on board with your plan.
I think it sounds like a great idea. People use those trails all the time. They could be a welcome sight to see something cleaned up over there.
Is that under the oversight of any, like the land trust or anything like that?
It's
or-
town-owned land.
I understand
So-
that, but the restrictions on the land, right? You know, like,
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Ted Zebra. Why not contact Chuck Thompson of the Minichog Land?
What happened?
I don't know what happened. Contact Chuck Thompson, and he's the trail manager. They can maybe do some of the trails in back of the VFW going up the South Road.
There's another spot too.
possible, maybe some of that, maybe, I don't know what kind of equipment you're allowed to use, but we had the request of some of that trimming work that was outside the town boundary, so to speak, and they could use some help.
Even the one on South Road too, the entrance on
That's what I'm
South Road.
talking about.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think you got yourself a job. We're just trying to
There you
figure
go.
out how much.
Yeah, right.
Understood. You know, for this particular one, we were looking for some clarification and guidance by the end of this week.
Yeah.
Just so we can figure out where we're gonna allocate the people, what equipment we need, and everything else planned. So, you know, if it's gonna take a few days, you know, I'll leave you my card. You also have my contact information if you need email. Think it out, think it over, talking about, and, you know, see what makes the most sense. And, you know, and understand we don't have to tackle everything at once.
Right.
If you say, this would be a good thing to get done, you know, in the next 2 weeks, but you have another idea going ahead toward the fall or the winter, whatever it is, we're not going anywhere. The Sheriff Coach is always happy to help, and I'm 5 doors down, so
Okay,
you're stuck with me, so.
great, all right. I'll appoint you a coordinator.
I'll work on it. I got his contact info, so we'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you.
Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Nice
Appreciate
Nice
it.
meeting you. Thanks
Welcome
for-
to town.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
doing it.
very much. I'm gonna leave you jump in my car if that's okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
apologize. I'm gonna skip out. I have 2 little girls waiting for me for pizza family night.
Okay.
How long's that going to?
Yeah, we like
Yeah,
pizza.
you come on down.
We like pizza.
Thank you.
You got more?
Oh, is that right? Oh, great, great. Well, it came out beautiful. So,
Here's this.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. All right.
all right, take care. Thank you.
State grants.
We have two. Actually, we have three. One just, the notification came in today. If you recall, about 3 months ago, we received a letter from Representative Brian Ash's staffer, asking that if there's a chance to get some earmark money into the budget, what would we like money to spend on? And we had discussed it briefly. I sent back a message. We'd like to have $100,000 for the gypsy moth problem, which
Was it Ash or Lesser?
or Ash.
Yeah.
Ash. We'd like to have $100,000 because the gypsy moth problem is about to reemerge or has reemerged. Lo and behold, they put it into the budget and the governor signed it. I just learned that today. So we have $100,000, which will go to the removal of dead trees and maybe some other steps to control
Now,
gypsy moth.
is this to reimburse us for the money we've already spent,
No,
or this
this
is
is
new?
new money.
This is new money.
New money, and the request also included, today, the notification also included a request from the staff of Mr. Ash to come and give us a mock check. So I suggested maybe August the 2nd, you know, these big checks that they'll give you. We're gonna get one for $100,000.
All right, so can we
I
also,
write
since
those all the time.
since we have the question or the question from Dana about what he's supposed to be doing for different requests like the park, et cetera,
Yeah.
can we bring him in on that date as well?
Yeah.
Obviously, let him know.
I will.
All right.
He's aware of this.
All right.
He's aware that we had put in for the grant,
Mhm.
and he also got notified that the grant was approved. I thought this was a long shot,
Mhm.
but the state is in a good position apparently, and they decided to fund it.
Take care of him.
Great.
Secondly, we were just notified this past few days of another grant. And this is the $389,000 for municipal vulnerability. This is the grant that we put in with, here we go, with East Long Meadow to do a study townwide of culvert issues and so forth. And here's a copy of what the funds will be used for. It's a two-year program. And we should end up with a lot of good information about areas of town that are vulnerable, particularly to flooding, but other effects of climate change. And the third one,
Back to that one. So that's the one, what was the task 2 thing that he wanted? Task 2, they wanted us to change?
they wanted to discuss, and we did discuss, how a requirement to involve young people and make it educational would be handled. And so we've got that worked out, and the consultant is going to basically add the language that they've recommended. And it's basically going to educate young people about ways to control flooding other than structural. What they're hoping to do, by the way, with this other grant, this third grant I'm going to talk about tonight, the $34,000 grant for the East Main Street, Big Brook area. And I did meet with a resident today to discuss this problem. He came to me and said, I've read that you've got a grant that is going to provide a redesign for the bridge as well as a new culvert. He said, that's going to bring more water into the Scantic River. I live downstream. That's going to exacerbate the problem that I currently have. This gentleman lives right on the curve. And if you look downstream, which I've done, there's an undercut bank there where the rushing water basically has undermined part of his property. And so he has this overhang now and nothing underneath of it. There's a tree there. He's already talked to the tree warden about taking it down, which we can't do because it's on private property. And he basically sees his property gradually eroding to the river. And so he's worried about that. The answer is that what we're going to try to do here, in addition to redesigning the bridge and replacing the culvert, is they're going to try and use natural environmental methods upstream to see that more water is absorbed rather than go into the river. And so part of that would be educational for children, that if you've got a problem of flooding, one of the ways we continue to have serious flooding problems, we're paving over everything. So the water has no place to go. So what they're going to be doing with the Audubon Society is working ways to provide more absorption of rainwater into the ground, basically, as opposed to having it all flow into the river and causing flooding downstream. So they wanted to clarify what we're going to be doing as far as the educational component, focusing on students at Minnetonka. And this is not a major part of the program, but nevertheless, there was a concern
Right.
about that.
I'm getting confused. Are we blurring between two grants here? Just want to go back to number 2, the 389.
Yeah.
On the last page, if you flip over at the end there, where's the match come from? If the whole thing is 521, it says
Yes.
there's a match for 131,000.
The match is going to come from in-kind services from the town. Whereas the match for the other grant is going to have to be real money. About 30,000.
In this in-kind service, a match would be divided in somewhere between us and East Long Meadow.
Correct. That's it. Correct.
So DPW labor, planning board labor, all these things.
Yes. Yes.
And then the East Long Meadow pays a
Correct.
portion of that too.
They were not on the call today. I don't know why. I didn't do the invitations there.
And then the third grant is a design grant, basically.
Basically redesigning the culvert and doing a design for the bridge, which will enable us then to get a donation or a grant under the small bridge program to rebuild that bridge at East Main Street. So we're going to see a new culvert, new bridge, and also some activity upstream to try and reduce the amount of water flowing into Big Brook.
Big money thing.
So this grant is specifically for the study.
This is design for the area. Yeah.
And they're expecting we'd have to kick in.
We're going to have to kick in some real money on this. Yes.
By when?
But after we do this, then the small bridge program is a grant program that covers 100% of the cost of a new bridge.
And the money we kick it on this, could it come from the new ARP money? What is it? ARP money? Because it's water.
That's worth a try.
You know?
Let me ask you this. This is a road that's in the travel way for the casino.
I know you're going with that like that.
Can we use no, seriously,
I know.
it's the road.
Yeah.
If we have to keep the road up to standard for that,
Right.
can we use that?
That's worth a try also.
Because you have $50,000 left in that money.
Yeah.
And possibly more coming, so. And other than that, by when do we need to have this money? Is this something we should keep in our short list now for the fall town
Well,
meeting?
we don't know the answer to that, but we should, you should authorize either the chair or me to sign this. We've already been given the money. It's been announced, but nevertheless, we have to sign this. And it says that it's a commitment that this language is accurate and true.
But then we're committing the town to go ahead and appropriate the matching fund too.
Yes.
You sign it, done, it's your money.
There's a lot more bureaucracy involved.
I've signed
with this.
many more dollars than this with my wife just pushing it in front of me. I'm happy to sign.
Yeah.
So we'd be on the hook for 30,000, is that what it says?
For him personally, yes.
Yeah.
Don?
Yeah.
So Don's.
I didn't mention the name of this other grant because we also got a notice
Greg.
to embargo.
Power. You okay? I think you okayed. the shutdown. You okayed the shutdown.
One of these
You okay, they shut that.
It's a game.
All right.
So
I
I'll make a
didn't
motion.
mention the name of the other
Authorize the
grant
chair to,
because
authorize the,
basically announcement is embargoed so that the state can make this announcement. You know, the state already made a public announcement of the $34,000 grant. The other grant will be announced very soon. But
I would predict Wednesday.
yeah,
all right, I make a motion to authorize the chair to sign for the culvert replacement municipal assistant grant application form. Got it.
also, I've upgraded the,
Is that a legit?
Yeah, I mean, he needs
Then
to.
yeah, I second the motion.
All in favor?
All right.
I've updated the grants list. There's new information there from the police chief. Call your attention to that, particularly the whole issue of body cameras. And I guess there's already been a discussion with the union about that. So this is likely to go into contract negotiations. There's nothing new from the fire department. I spoke to the chief about that, or the highway department, or the COA. I've listed basically under town administrator, a lot of grants, some of which I'm not accountable or responsible for, but I had no place else to put them, like ARPA. CD, that grant has been awarded and the money has been spent. Those are new numbers for the library. Dispatch, Mr. Gentile, I guess, is on this call. This number, the first number, the 696,315, that is how much was requested. They were not funded at that level, but they were funded somewhere in the range of, I think he said $450,000. More than enough to pay the town's fee of $125,000, and also to cover the cost of the fiber optic line. And also there's an additional grant that they've received, so that I think whenever it comes to the state of Massachusetts promising to provide grant money, there are always those who doubt, including me, that it'll ever happen. But in this case, it has happened. And the state has been, 9/11 office has been certainly very generous with funding to make the dispatch consolidation work.
How much did they give?
It was requested was 696,
Yeah.
696,315.
Yeah.
And Tony is on this call. Maybe he could give us the up-to-date number. He said he was going to email it to me.
Come on.
He's on.
I am here. Yep. Mr. Markle, I did email that to you right before 6 o'clock. I had to go to my records and obtain everything. So I'll give you a quick rundown of the development grant. That's the grant that allowed us to merge. It pays for certain things. The amount I first applied for was around 696,000. I added $74,000 to that for the IMC CAD merger. And the total that I requested from the state was $770,349. Of that, we were awarded $409,917. $185,506 is for fiber purchase and installation. $125,000 for Hampden's assessment to Wilbraham, or Wilbraham's assessment to Hampden. I said that backwards. $30,111 for the police department's security upgrades. That's for the cameras, our ability to lock, unlock, secure, open doors, etc. And $69,300 for the director's salary. Also, I have applied for the support incentive grant, which is a $52,484. As of this email, it has not been awarded yet, but I plan that to be awarded shortly. Also with that support grant is the incentive part, which has not been awarded yet. And again, I expect that with another higher amount to be awarded as well. The training grant, I've applied for $23,646.23. And again, it has not been awarded yet. And last but not least is the EMD grant. This allows us to pay for myself or a dispatcher that's a QA certified to QA the EMD calls that we get for both communities. And that was just under $4,000, $3,986.82.
And which was the fiber line? Cost of the fiber line?
The fiber line is $185,506. This fiber line is a 24 strand and it's direct dark fiber from building to building. We are not going to cut through anywhere in Wilbraham and extend it. It's going to be from building to building, and the communication center and the Hampden Police Department will be the only two departments on that fiber.
The chair, what was the total, that they received?
Tony, can you repeat the total?
The total for the development grant.
Yeah, 409.
So what we were awarded was $409,917. The email that I sent Mr. Markle, I can forward to the select board if they'd like as well.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
When's that fiber line going in, Tony?
I've signed the contract with the fiber company. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. And they're putting about a 2 to 3 month lag time to order the product and start installing it. I think they want to get it in before winter. So hopefully late summer, early fall, we can start on that.
Is that going in the ground, you know, or is that going pole to pole?
It's going pole to pole. And I signed the contract for the upgrade for the police department as well. And that should be commencing within the next few weeks as well.
Very good.
Great, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on grants?
That's it. We've already covered the gypsy moth.
Gypsy
funding, which
Moth,
is
we
the next
already
item.
covered, okay. Updates on the project, updates on the Marcus project. I guess they got the electrician finally did the pole on Summers Road. Now they have to wait for our building inspector to inspect it. And then National Grid will put the plug in the thing, and then I guess we're all set, right?
So check the folder tomorrow.
Water project. We're just waiting, did it,
They were doing borings last
Yeah.
I heard, and that's, we're ahead of schedule compared to what they talked about before. I would hope that we're going to hear from them shortly that we should be ready to go out to a bid. They're preparing the package. Quick report that I talked to the fire chief and they've been told they're looking at September possibly for their new vehicle. But that's always the one
oh,
authorized.
that's the one that we traded a 2 in for
Yep.
the
2 to 1.
2-to-1 trade.
Right.
What else we got there? There's 2 people. Under correspondence, we have number 8. This is the right of way issue,
Not our issue.
not our issue. And so any selectmen's reports?
Just what I talked about, I think I brought the date on COA, housing, planning. Obviously, planning is coming back forth. There will be a pretty vibrant discussion, I'm guessing, at the next public hearing, as we see some social media chatter. But again, much
Are they all
like,
set with the Amoresco thing?
I think at this point,
The
Yeah.
pilot sign.
Yeah.
The pilot sign.
the pilot's done, they're still working, I think, with Concom. But and Ted could possibly report on that, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. There's a process they're going through and they're working with Concom on that, I would say. Correct, Ted?
Yes, they're gonna meet with us on Wednesday.
So
Okay.
there's a lot of boxes to be checked and it's just a process to go through. And fortunately, they're a company that has done this in a number of towns. They're pretty familiar with it.
Right,
You got anything else?
I'm good.
I got a list of stuff here. First, I think we should acknowledge our police, fire, and DPW. Been doing a tremendous job in the flooding that's been going on in people's basements. They've been really assisting the community, trying to bail people out with the submerged homes and whatnot. Last week, I attended the Parks Department meeting, and there was a citizen who joined the meeting, looking to organize some volunteers at the splash pad to help weed and maintain the gardens. She was able to recruit some Girl Scouts, and on Sunday, they tended to all the weeding and gardening within the splash pad. So, somebody in the community stepping up to kind of help out where they needed help. They're also officially reorganizing the RAW. We had mentioned that before, but it's going forward with new members and new administration, a new board getting put together.
Right, but that's not through Park and Rec.
Right.
Right, yeah.
It was just brought up that somebody was organizing it there. The Park and Rec is looking to do some fall events, some pretty cool stuff they were talking about, but details are becoming on that. And the big thing is Parks is going to need an employee, maintenance, starting in mid-August. The person they have is leaving, and they have nobody to fulfill that position. It's been updated on our website's main page for the job description and application if anybody's interested. But they made note that there's a possibility that they might have to close the park if they can't find somebody to maintain the park.
it's a full-time position.
I think it's a part-time seasonal position. Yeah, but they say they could work into 2 positions if they needed to.
Town administrators report. There's a new round of grant funding from the State Office of Disabilities. As you know, we applied last year and were denied because our Commission on Disabilities did not have a full complement of members. Now we have a full complement and we have an ADA coordinator. And so I'm going to resubmit beginning August the 2nd for a planning grant. Like practically every other state program, it's a 2-step process. First of all, they give you money to do the planning. And basically that would be a survey of our buildings, an assessment of needs to make all of our buildings completely accessible. Once that plan is completed and submitted and approved, the town becomes eligible for grants, for project grants, and of up to $250,000. And so my thought is that we'll get the plan in place and then apply for some funding for whatever project the Board of Selectmen determined as the highest priority, like maybe an elevator for this building or something along those lines. I know that the office does have considerable funds available, and I think it's realistic for us to think that we could get a chunk of money to make this building in particular more accessible to those with disabilities. An important meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 with Whip City Fiber. This is Westfield Gas and Electric. They're doing a lot of projects in the region and in Berkshire County to extend fiber. And when our contract with the Spectrum charter expired, we looked, actually Craig was the one who dug into this and found that we're paying a considerable amount of money monthly, and we're not getting the kind of service that should be available through a fiber system. And so I called Whip City basically to see if they could be competitive and bring fiber into this building at a much higher rate of speed. And so they're coming tomorrow morning at 8:30 to talk about that, as well as I think we'll have a conversation with them about what else might be done in town to extend the fiber optic system. We do have fiber on the poles on Main Street. Interestingly,
Spectrum did not use that fiber. They brought their own fiber. And so, I mean, one question for Whip City would be, can you take the fiber that's out there and simply bring it into the building? And at what cost and at what speed? And so should have a report for the next meeting on that. And then the whole business of asking what else could be done in town at a reasonable price and paid for with ARPA money to extend the fiber optic system. Meeting of the ambulance advisory committee is coming. Also, we extended our insurance package for the fiscal year, and they offered insurance against ransomware for the meager sum of $1,800. And so I said, yes, do that, because this is increasingly a problem
Keep our Bitcoin safe.
in this country. And although smaller communities were seemingly immune at one point, they're not anymore. There are local bad actors who apparently are into the business now. And anyway, I had to make a quick decision. I assumed the selectmen. The PFAS seminar, which I'm registered for, is on the 21st. I did send you a copy if you want to register and look in on that webinar. The applicant pool for a shared health agent has been winnowed down to 3 from the 10 applicants that submitted. And so I think there's an expectation that we can have someone on board for when our current agent, Lori McCool, retires on the 30th of this month. As you know, she has also volunteered to stay with us for a while to make the transition smooth if we need her services. Jane is looking for someone who could come into the town as an exterminator, since there have been a few issues with bugs, ants, some of the offices. So that's it.
Do people pick up your crumbs after you get done eating your cookies and stuff?
Yeah, I do, but I can tell you that at one point there were quite a few ants around.
Do we have to vote this? This is the Hampden Senior Center,
Oh, yes, you do.
Senior Center volunteer dinner party,
Yes.
beer and wine, beverages.
Thursday, I'm sure there's like a vote.
What is it? It's Thursday, the 29th.
Yeah,
Would you make a motion
I'd
or?
love to make a motion. I signed it already.
Okay, go ahead, make your motion.
Make a motion to approve the senior center's request for a beer and wine license for July
29th,
29th to recognize their volunteers.
Second.
all in favor?
They're usually done by 9, is that correct, Ted?
Absolutely. We'll be done by 9.
Or maybe 8:30. I had.
We'll be looking for volunteer drivers to take us home.
Okay. I asked to have the update or an annual, or sorry, a weekly spot for the special town meeting.
Oh, yeah.
If we could start
It's on
putting the
there.
folder together.
Okay, we have that on there, on the updates.
Don, one more item.
Yeah.
When the accountant was here, he gave me this copy.
Mhm.
Apparently tonight, the advisory committee voted the following: transfers from their reserve.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's the list.
All right. We don't have to do anything else with this.
No.
right?
No.
That's pretty good for
For
the whole
$14
year.
million budget, $7,000.
7,000.
0.101%,
Very good.
5% or something like that.
It's low.
These police ones, we don't have, we have to vote them or?
We can vote them in. Yes. So the signature is the most important thing. So as you have time, come in, and then we'll just do a full roster vote.
We'll have plenty of time because we have Attorney Pakula here, so. Anything else? Well, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. And I determine it might be detrimental to the effect of our litigating position in the public body if it were to be held in public. And Attorney Pakula is here, and this litigation is the Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District, from which we will adjourn and not come back to open session.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to enter executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If this open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declared. This is in reference to the ongoing action with the Wilbraham Regional School District without a return to open session.
Second,
John, and I.
Don Davenport, aye.
February side.
Okay,
Thank you all.
this gentleman will have to leave.
Who is this gentleman?